This is AP Lit. And we're going to be looking at William Wordsworth today.
This is easy.
This is not easy at all. That's all. What do you mean, bro?
Have I given you a Wordsworth set of questions front and back?
No, we have not.
Robbie is so bad.
Are you ready for the math test?
Robbie sells more than I do.
You actually hit the ball. Robbie just doesn't
I forgot like the 1.1 stuff.
When Sam's catcher, easy.
Dude, Max took that big L.
All right, we're on page 43. William Wordsworth, the few things that you need to remember about him, just as a nutshell summary of him, is that Wordsworth was the most important of the 6 Romantic poets. He was some people would place him, I don't think scholars like to do this like we do, Americans. We like to rank things and all kind of sports related. Well, I like rankings as well. I would say he could come maybe 4th ever greatest writer in British history. You remember the first 3?
Shakespeare.
Chaucer. 3rd, you read him last year with Dr. Bedson.
Gregory.
What? Milton. Yeah. Did someone already say that? Okay.
Isn't that what Tyler said?
All right, so those are the first 3. Wordsworth would be close to maybe the 4th important. He is the one who deifies nature. He would call nature. He almost treats it as if it were God. They're synonymous to him. I don't think he really means it. He's not a pantheist, someone who sees God literally in things. We've already looked at that with I forget where, the tiger and the lamb. God's not in the tree, but his glory is seen in the tree. His attributes. God's in heaven, although he's big enough he's spirit, so he doesn't have any restrictions. But he doesn't inhabit the tree. His spirit doesn't inhabit the tree, but his glory can be seen in the tree. So that's, I think, where he's coming from here. I wandered lonely as a cloud. I'm going to read it to you. You have some questions. We'll do these together, and then I'm going to introduce to you the Petrarchan sonnet, because we're going to read 2 more Petrarchan sonnets. Keats liked sonnets, so we need to know what a sonnet is. So here we are. I wandered lonely as a cloud. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high or veils in hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft, when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills, and dances with the daffodils. So let's look through this. This week, we may also go back to the book and do some exercises in an effort to remember those first 6 questions. You remember what the first 6, I don't think you have them written down, but we've talked about them every time we look at poetry. What are the first 6 questions you ask of a poet? Speaker and occasion. And of course, who he's speaking to, which would be audience. So that's 3 right there. Sure. I would add to that the setting, which may be encompassed in the occasion. So what's happening and when is it happening? Where is it happening?
The main theme and idea.
Yes, and then the purpose and the main idea. I think that's about 6. You notice what's missing from that list, which I'll give you a longer list in the future. It's in your book. It's the techniques that authors use. Tone would be one of those techniques. Tone would also be part of the speaker and audience, because you got to figure out, we've already looked at tone, about what the speaker's attitude is. So anyway, let's look at this. Tell me about the speaker. Tyler, would you tell me about the speaker here? Remember, I'm not asking for a name. I'm just asking, what does the poem reveal about the speaker?
Speaker seems to be happy, appreciative.
From the beginning of the poem to the end. And by the way, please read it again. I'm sorry, I didn't remind you to do that. So before Tyler answers that, just read it again. I always need to read it twice. And I didn't remind you to do this, and I don't see anybody doing it, but if you would, I hope you'll get to the point without anybody instructing you to take a pencil anytime you read it, particularly on the test, if you're on writing an essay. You've got to interact with the poem. You got to circle things that you notice, and we're looking at speaker and audience to start with, and occasion. Everybody had a chance to read it a second time? So tell me about the speaker, Tyler. I asked you, is he happy from beginning to end in the poem? Right.
No, because he kind of starts lonely.
Right, and then he ends somewhat happy. How would you explain that? Because he is and yet he isn't happy at the end.
Because it seems like he's found temporary happiness and he's filled with daffodils and stuff.
Good. So you said temporary happiness. He had to leave the daffodils, didn't he? He couldn't stay there. He didn't take a photo of it. That's still not the same. Have you ever been disappointed? Maybe this is my age, but I'm always disappointed with my photos of the beach and everything. They never capture what I experienced. Have you ever, no matter how many pictures you take of the trip with whoever, it just wasn't the same as being there. It brings back those memories. It's not quite the same. So he sees, what is the occasion, Tyler, since you started it? We'll finish that first question. See, what's actually happening in the poem? All right. Well, you said he was lonely at first, and then he became unlonely and happier. We need to figure out why or how that happened. Yeah.
He's daydreaming.
When? I mean, the whole poem is a daydream?
Seems to be.
Okay. Well, it has to be in the past, right? Because he's remembering it.
And then it's until the last stanza when it kind of steps away for a second and talks about outside of the dream, about himself.
So at the beginning of the poem, he's remembering a time when what was going on? What was the occasion at the beginning of the poem? I mean, literally, what's happening? It's not really a hard question. What's he doing at the beginning of the poem? How does he feel? He's lonely, and then what happened? Where is he? He's remembering it, but where is he in his memory?
He's lonely, and then he finds these daffodils and this.
Where is he?
Where is he specifically?
Yeah, I mean, I don't need a name, but be even more specific. Where does he find the daffodil? Thank you. It literally says beside the lake beneath the tree. So he's wandering he's lonely. He just tells us that. That's not an interpretation question. The title tells us. And then he sees the daffodils, and how does it make him feel?
Makes him feel happy.
It changes his attitude. Now in his memory, now the location changes. Where's the second location in the poem?
In his, talking about his real life. Well,
Yeah.
his life in the present of that moment.
And where is it in the poem? On his couch, so his bed, his whatever. And what's his attitude?
Initially, he's vacant and pensive.
Okay.
But then he recalls this past time.
That's
when
right.
He was happy and becomes happy again.
Very good. So that's the occasion of the poem. That's literally what happens in the poem, from start to finish. Now, really, the other questions we would look at is how does the poet convey these feelings? So look at number 2. We know that he's sad at the beginning. And we know he's sad at the end, right? So we've kind of answered 2. He's sad at the beginning, and that mood, that sadness or loneliness is echoed at the end. And we know how the sight of the daffodils changed his mood, right? This is a very interesting question. And one thing that I hope you'll see some progress in your thinking and reading. One of the things I wrote on your papers, and we're just starting, but I'm saying, could you look a little deeper? I mean, we've got to learn to get a 5, to get those 9s on those essays. You've first got to see what's on the surface, but then you got to go deeper than the surface. So the question's a good one. Is the mood at the end of the poem exactly the same as at the beginning of the poem? We could generally say he feels better. That's really vague. And can you say that they're the same, exact, identical, or is there some difference? You can just analyze the, let's see, how many stanzas? There's 4. Analyze the 3rd and 4th stanzas. How does he feel in the 3rd stanza when he's standing there looking at them? What words describe how he feels? Todd, what words in that 3rd stanza describe how he feels? Adjectives. And circle these for the rest of you. Yeah, right, gay and glee. Now, do you know what the word jocund means? It's the only word in here you probably didn't know.
Wouldn't it mean like joyous?
Yeah, it's just happy. I love the sound of it. Shakespeare uses it. Romeo talks about it. So jocund, glee, gay. All right, that's it. He's happy. What about the next one? The last